Yeah, how's it going? Today is 1st of September and we are taking Sunday. So let's take a look at finances. Every Sunday, let's try to take a look at finances and let's reflect on what might be important. I have one article where we're going to be taking a look at potential bonus that one of the CEOs would receive if he would reach some of those targets. So I think that information is kind of interesting since it might be a very hard thing to do. But either way, before we do that, let's take a look at some of the government's press releases. All of those, we're gonna take a look at more or less on the finances, so it kind of fits Sunday's finance team, right? First article that would you could get pension credits a week action to drive take up. So that would be important, and part of that would be for heating and elderly people. But I believe while this is what might be important, let's progress to another one. I'm not affected by it, and usually elderly people will be able to talk to each other and or read all the newspapers themselves, right? So let's keep this topic for now. Let's progress to the next one. Some of those articles that was published today, even okay, it's Sunday and it's great. Usually, you want to have team working, but it's great that the team is working on Sunday. That would be press release. UK Ukraine digital trade set to grow. UK Ukraine digital trade agreement enters into force today, allowing business on both sides to benefit from quicker and cheaper trade. It might be important, if anything, because that would be driving new opportunities, all those kind of things. But I haven't read this article, right? So before offering a lot of pushback, let's try to read it and let's see what this article is all about. Let's start with the bullet points and what this article is going to be about. UK and Ukraine business set to benefit as UK Ukraine digital trade deal enters into force today. Okay, sure. Agreement paves the way for new era of trade, making trade between both countries cheaper and easier, and boosting both economies. Right. By the way, I don't know. I don't know all the details. I don't know what this is trade, finances. I don't know. I don't know what's happening. Right. Is it banking? There's a government. Is it private businesses? I don't know any of these details. Right. As of now. Trading digitally is particularly important during current conflict, where warfare and or damage in infrastructure make it harder to trade physically. Okay, okay. There is a valid point there. Let's try to understand it. Let's be more optimistic, right, before coming into this. UK-Ukraine trade is set to grow. That is UK-Ukraine Digital Trade Agreement today, Sunday, 1st of September, today's date, enters into force, allowing businesses on both sides to benefit from quicker and or cheaper trade. The digital agreement is one of the first of its kind. Exactly, so it might be a lot of things and no bugs, quote unquote, since we're talking about digital space, and opens the doors for wider shifts and or digital trading systems. When we're talking about doors, there is a lot of pushback up there currently in the market when it comes to backdoors, and a lot of governments have there tapping into networks and or tracking a lot of systems, banking, personal information, all these kind of things, including UK's government with tapping into cyber optic cables, right, including UK. So with that in mind, we can continue reading it. Perhaps next time you shouldn't do it. You know what? So digital systems are more important than ever for Ukraine, and physical trading systems have been impacted by war. As well as there's the systems currently coming into effect. With dollar potential, more and more governments moving away from dollar, and initiatives like IMF, World Trade Organizations, all these kind of things, and there's BRIC governments, and they're looking to trade in different currencies. Perhaps those currencies would be backed by potentially gold, and it could be trade for grain, all these kind of things, right? So perhaps this entire article that I'm reading right now, I don't want to be the person who wouldn't talk what's really important, right? I don't know about the current existing systems. I don't know about those, and I don't know who's managing the entire project. If it's as of currently how it's been managed, so that means IMF will lend you money, but they will be looking to implement a lot of policy procedures, right? And will all of a sudden govern the Ukraine. Perhaps then Ukraine should consider alternatives in the market where they can govern themselves, right? That's a lot to unpack there. Ukraine is one of the largest exporters of information technology services globally, with areas such as outsourcing, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, and mobile applications in rapid development before the war. As a global leader in the tech, UK is digitally, I don't know, perhaps UK is up there, but I think, can anyone tell me, then we'll take a look at tech, any tech companies, perhaps that those tech companies might have started in UK, but all the tech companies, who are there? What can anyone think about a single tech company UK? I don't know, but perhaps there are some, right? So perhaps there's other governments who are performing very well. So I'm just saying this. Ideally positioned to aid Ukraine post-conflict transition to a digital economy, with over half of our service exporters to Ukraine already digitally delivered, right? So then it comes to some of those agreements and documents. So hopefully Ukraine won't be forced into entering some of those agreements, and there might be a lot of alternatives in the market. So the Ukraine could consider who are and other partners and or what other contracts are available on the table, right? Let's take a look at the next article. That would be a press release. Decades of defense and or international experience added to review team. Myself, I have sent a letter with regards to internal, and I had expressed my own understanding when it comes to perhaps not necessarily internal consultants, but external consultants as well. And I think some of those governments do have very high standards when it comes to consultants. But let's do not go too much into detail, other than perhaps let's try to understand what decisions were made. That would be six leading figures with extensive expertise across defense, security, and all wider government will support the strategic defense review. External reviewers, but external, so it could be wide, since I was thinking, look, external governments, not necessarily CK, right? So perhaps after do something what will be important, but either way, let's take a look at some of the bullet points. External team undertaking root and all branch review of UK defense bolstered. New members, including NATO Assistant Strategy General and former Defense Minister, previous government. Okay, as they are work already under the peace with public submission, outcome to help shape further UK defense. Okay, so perhaps there is some limitations of who can be consultants, right? So it would perhaps need to be, for example, NATO member governments, right, or states. But I was in my letter, I was talking about outside NATO governments, right? Briefly, right, since there would be a lot of names, not necessarily myself, I'm looking at expressing and sharing those names, other than how the tax money or finances would be allocated when it comes to increase in spending. Perhaps there is a better need of calculating how much and the way how those finances would work, right? Since recently, yesterday, I was taking a look at one videos of the online, right, and our friends in Lithuania where they did math, right. So since how much of the petroleum products been purchased by Europeans would mean that every rocket that was sent to Ukraine was roughly about over 17% of European money by purchasing Russian crude oil, right? So it's about 17%. So at least math, someone's up there doing a lot of math when it comes to how many rockets and who is purchasing and supporting financially of having those rockets built, right? Roughly it comes to about 17%, right? which is very interesting idea. So, someone's up there counting, right? But I don't know what's happening in UK. I kind of know what's happening in Europe, right? A route of branch review UK defense was launched by Prime Minister Key. Okay, the current Prime Minister last month to make Britain secure and home as strong as abroad for decades to come. Externally led review at first of its kind for the UK and all have been widely welcome. Free external reviews leading the SDR are okay. There's names that I don't know. Again, I don't know these people. The additional members of the defense review team announced they have been chosen to support the work due to the extensive expertise across the priority areas such as terms of reference of SDR. So we're gonna be taking a look at those people. I don't know these people, so perhaps let's keep names. And there might be just perhaps in the future just a name, perhaps that would be enough. I don't know. We're taking a look at defense, and we're potentially taking a look at the 75 or so billions. So how UK will spend 75 billion, and who gonna be people advising how to spend that money? So if there was just three people, leadership have recognized that perhaps there should be a little bit more people when doing this review and taking a look at areas how those finances will be allocated, right? The defense minister's previous governance and the former chair of defense selected committee. Okay. So I thought it would be more of the areas I was taking a look at completely different. This subject perhaps logistical expertise and or perhaps administration. Perhaps there should be someone who understands software very well when it comes to improving processes, right? And all communication areas. So what about engineering, right? So either way, most likely that's not information that's published. So let's skip that. Let's progress to since it's Sunday. Let's take a look at finances and let's take a look at someone who's about to make a lot of money due to doing great work, right? Let's take a look at finances, right? That would be this article. I was trying to find a different article, but perhaps this particular article is pushing UK closer to Europe. I don't think I'm not promoting this kind of attitude. If UK have decided to leave Europe, let UK leave Europe. Let's not push UK back into Europe. So I was trying to have the review perhaps three or four articles, other articles where taking a look at football players. Again, so I thought, okay, let's take a look at this article and so what whoever written this article, perhaps this person has his own views, right, on what UK should be doing. I'm not promoting this kind of ideas, right. The CEO of Europe's largest airlines is about to trigger a potentially, I believe it's about 100 million euros, right? Bonus that British shareholders can vote. Okay. So this Ryanair CEO potentially would be able, from what I understand, some of the research I have done, if he would be able to double profitability on stock price, I think. But how else would you double it? As well as potentially they might be able to absorb and or potentially expand to other markets, not necessarily just Europe, if you're going to keep performing that well. But we're talking about someone who's been in industry for decades and decades. So there are people who definitely worth that. But it's just 100 million. It's a lot of money. I'm just saying it's a lot of money, as well as a lot of stress, and it's very competitive market running airlines, right? I'm more interested to see perhaps what this airline is doing, right? If they're upgrading fleet, if they're changing engines, and for more green approach, that would be perhaps alternative fuels, all this kind of thing. So that's information I'm looking for. I haven't read this article, by the way. So if they are perhaps in some of those numbers would be load. So how many seats as of now Ryanair is able to sell? I believe it's over 90%, where most of the airline would keep about 80%. So as well as to keep all the planes full, as well as prices, all these kind of things, right? So systems, processes, all these kind of things. Why this person would earn potentially 100 million euros? So that should be inspirational story, right? but not necessarily that's information that we will find. But either way, I haven't read this article, right? Ryanair CEO Michael could be in for 100 million euros paid in airline stock, continue on its current trajectory. So there potentially, but it's not only him. Other CEOs do have similar targets, and some of those targets are way higher, right? But let's take a look at what's happening with air carriers in Dublin, and perhaps that would be some of the decision makers that I myself and I would like to have advisors. I would like to have this person on my team, if that makes sense. If we were taking a look at perhaps 75 billion, and you can potentially hire this professional with expertise of 3 decades, perhaps even more than that, to address when it comes to logistical issues and how to optimize some of the processes. I like to have this person on the team when it comes to advising how taxpayers' money would be spent, 75 billion, and if he's able to optimize the processes, that's where 100 million potentially would come from. If that makes sense, I hope it does, right? Because people would need to know what they're talking about. But you know, Dublin-based carrier share currently is at £20 or so. It should be stock reach 21 and stay there for 25 consecutive days. All Leary will be able to stock options value at 100 million. Oh, okay, stock options. It's still, but perhaps you not necessarily would be taxed on stock options, right? But anyway, but that has some analysis from. Oh, okay, there's other banking institutions. What stakeholders won't even get a say on the pay package for the leader of Europe's largest airline. I would go even further than saying perhaps not only why it needs to be only limited to Europe, if that makes sense. Perhaps they can expand the process to wider markets, right? As this most major bonus payout, the executive shareholders get the opportunity to vote on where they approve the payment. I don't know. Perhaps it should be important, but again, this article is written about UK and EU and what laws are when it comes to investing in some of those companies and UK leaving. Okay. So myself, I'm not looking to promote any of those. If UK have decided to leave, let them leave, and that's it. I don't believe that's what should be important, as well as there's a lot of things there, as well as if we were to take a look at two companies who are building those air carriers, right? And even those companies would be based in Europe, right? Not necessarily. So Boeing, that's US, and Airbus, that's Europe, right? Not necessarily in UK. Since all the accounts and everything is done in euros, not in pounds, right? So there's more to it, I guess. It's not only current article and what they bring attention to, right? Just to close this article with, right, in order for O'Leary to earn bonus payment, Ryanair will also have to set net profits of 2.2 billion, which analysts expect to happen. Ryanair has cut its profit forecast for 2013, saying it has lower prices to keep planes full of various reasons, including potential that US carrier Boeing disaster with Alaska Airlines. There was more to it, not necessarily just airlines, no disaster they're talking about. Some of the planes actually have crashed, right? That would be Ethiopia and all these kind of things, but they're not highlighting that. As well as a lot of airplanes would lose altitude very fast, right? I don't know if there's a system error or if there's more issues there, right? But perhaps there's investigation teams who are working on it, I hope, right? O'Leary has been chief executive of Ryanair since 1994, so for some time to at least 20 years, but before then perhaps he had a lot of industry knowledge. And I think he's doing great work, by the way. There's a lot of controversy when it comes to paying for everything, right? But there's it's when it comes to running profitable business, he's doing great work. And it's considered to be executive that powers the budget airlines to such prominent status in Europe. To consumers, Ryanair is known for its cheap flights across the country. Okay. I think he's doing great work, right? So if you're asking me, and as well as he's on the track to potentially earn bonus, right? Let's close it back. They're going too much into detail about other businesses, right? And I can see at least 3 or 4 other times U.S. carrier company has been mentioned. If anything, they should consider purchasing less from US, and perhaps UK should build, if they can, more airplanes themselves, even though some of those companies and stocks will be listed in euros. So there is more to it, right? Let's close on that. Thanks for watching. See you next one.